Welcome to Story Vault, where stories open the door to English fluency and imagination. Today, we're diving into one of the most beautiful and timeless stories ever written, The Little Prince. A story that seems simple at first glance, but hides deep lessons about love, friendship, and what truly matters in life. Before we begin, sit back, relax, and let your ears train your English. Every word, every rhythm, every emotion, let it sink in naturally. It all begins with a pilot. A man who, as a child, loved to draw. One day, he drew a picture of a snake swallowing an elephant. But when he showed it to adults, they all laughed. They couldn't see what he saw. They thought it was just a hat. That's when he stopped drawing and decided to grow up. Years later, he became a pilot, flying across deserts and skies, until one day, his plane crashed in the Sahara. There, in the endless sand, under the blazing sun, he met a little boy, with golden hair, curious eyes, and a scarf that danced in the wind. "Please," said the little boy, "draw me a sheep." And just like that, the adventure began. The pilot, surprised but touched, drew a sheep. The little boy didn't like the first one. Or the second. Finally, the pilot drew a box and said, "Your sheep is inside." The little prince smiled. That's the one he wanted. From that moment, they became friends. The pilot discovered that the little prince wasn't from Earth. He came from another planet, a tiny one, called asteroid B612. There, he lived alone, taking care of his volcanoes and a single rose. A rose that was beautiful but proud. She demanded attention. She complained about everything. But the little prince loved her, even though he didn't always understand her. One day, he decided to leave his planet. He wanted to explore the universe and find out what love really meant. He visited 6 different planets before arriving on Earth. On each world, he met adults who represented something wrong with grown-up life. A king who wanted to rule everything, even the stars. A vain man who wanted to be admired all the time. A drunkard who drank to forget his shame. A businessman who counted stars, believing he owned them. A lamplighter who followed orders without question. And a geographer who never explored. Each encounter taught the little prince something new about the strange, serious world of adults. How they lose their imagination, how they forget what's important, how they stop seeing with their hearts. Then, he arrived on Earth, and that's where everything changed. At first, he felt lonely. He had never seen so many roses before, thousands of them. He realized that his rose wasn't unique after all. She had told him she was one of a kind, but here were so many just like her. He cried. He felt betrayed. But soon after, he met a fox, and the fox taught him the most important lesson of all. "To me, you are nothing more than a little boy, just like 100,000 others," said the fox. "But if you tame me, then we shall need each other. You will be unique to me." The little prince didn't understand at first. But when he tamed the fox, he realized, love isn't about appearances. It's about connection. It's about the time, the care, the bond you build. When the little prince prepared to leave, the fox said something unforgettable. "It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye." That single line became the soul of the story, a truth that still touches millions of hearts. We spend so much time chasing what we can see, money, fame, things, but we forget what we can't see, love, kindness, friendship, meaning. Back in the desert, the pilot learned from the little prince about love, loss, and innocence. But the little prince began to miss his rose. He realized that even though there were thousands of roses, his was special, because he had loved her, cared for her, and listened to her. That love made her unique. Soon, the pilot's plane was fixed. But the little prince told him it was time for him to return home, to his planet, and to his rose. He said goodbye under the stars. When morning came, the little prince was gone. But the pilot never forgot him. Every night, when he looked at the stars, he remembered that golden-haired boy who taught him to see with his heart. Now, let's pause for a moment. This story isn't just about a prince from another planet. It's about us. About how we grow up and forget what it means to truly live. We start chasing numbers, schedules, deadlines, and we lose the child inside us who once looked at stars and wondered. The Little Prince reminds us to rediscover that child. To ask questions. To listen more. To see beyond what's visible. As an English learner, there's another layer for you. Every time you hear these words, "Draw me a sheep," what is essential is invisible to the eye. You're not just learning vocabulary. You're learning rhythm, emotion, and the art of feeling through language. That's what makes English come alive. Imagine yourself as the pilot, stranded in a desert of silence, and the language you want to learn is like the Little Prince, unexpected, full of wonder, ready to teach you something beautiful. If you listen carefully, it will. Language, like love, grows only when you spend time with it. The Little Prince has been translated into over 400 languages, one of the most translated books in history. Because its message is universal, no matter where you're from, what language you speak, or how old you are, it whispers the same truth. We must learn to see again with our hearts. Even the words of the fox carry meaning for English practice. You become responsible, forever, for what you have tamed. It's the same with learning, you become responsible for what you practice. Every word you train, every phrase you repeat, becomes part of who you are. So, when you read stories like this, you're not just improving your English. You're shaping your heart, your perspective, and your voice. Because fluency isn't about speed, it's about connection. It's about speaking from within, not just from the tongue. And that's the power of the Little Prince. It connects hearts across worlds, through words. Years later, when the pilot grows old, he still remembers that boy. And we, too, can remember him, every time we stop and look at the stars. Maybe, somewhere out there, the Little Prince is laughing, and the sound of that laughter travels across galaxies, just to remind us that the world is still full of wonder. Let that laughter remind you, to learn, to listen, to dream. Because in the end, the most important lessons in life, and in English, are invisible to the eye. And as you finish this story, remember. Train your mouth to talk, but train your heart to listen. Because English, like love, is a language that must be felt. This was The Little Prince, retold for your mind, your heart, and your fluency. Thank you for watching Story Vault, where every story is a journey to better English, and a better you. Luxury outro lines. Stay curious. Stay humble. And keep listening to the world, because the words you practice today will become your wings tomorrow.